February 5th, 2015. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 65 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting next to me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Just real quick, since this news broke today, we're actually recording this on a Wednesday night. But Gary Loveman, CEO of Caesars Entertainment, said that he was stepping down from that role.
Yeah.
And I think he's still going to be involved with Caesars in some capacity, but he's no longer going to be the CEO. That on the tail of, them declaring bankruptcy.
I had heard a rumor that he was going to step down. Now, does he have a replacement?
Yeah, they do have a replacement. Mark Frisoro. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he used to be the CEO for Hertz.
Okay.
Rental car. So that's going to be the replacement.
I had lobbied really hard for you.
Yeah, I know.
So when I came across my phone, I immediately saw Mark. I thought, finally, someone listened to me.
I know. Thanks for your support.
Well, you'd be a great CEO of a major corporation.
Yeah. Oh, I'd run the place into the ground if it isn't there already. Yeah.
Well, you couldn't do any worse than it's they've already done, right?
Hey, maybe I should campaign for next time. Anyway, that's all we're going to say about it. The news broke today, and honestly, a podcast like Vegas Gang, I'm sure they're going to have a lot more to say about it in an intelligent manner, which we're not capable of.
No, not capable at all.
Yeah.
But I would like to know what the new guy plans to do.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, what's he going to do any different? Nothing.
See. He takes over July 1st is what they're saying. So,
okay.
We'll see. Who knows?
So Gary has until July 1st to really take it in the dumper?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, remember on our last episode, one of our callers, Derek, had suggested that maybe a way to get some extra comps would be to put your players club into a slot machine, say in the high limit area, that you weren't going to play, but just put the card in there and then leave. And then if somebody were to come along and then start playing that machine, you would get the credits for it and maybe get some comps.
Sounds like a good idea, but in practicality,
I don't
probably
think
not going to do much.
Well, we actually got listener Craig posted on Facebook. He was telling us that when those cards go in, there's a timeout period if there's no action on the machine. And that makes sense. I didn't even think about that last time, but that might really mean that this scheme wouldn't work at all, right? You'd put your card in, and then if somebody, say, doesn't come up and start playing within 2 minutes or however long it is.
It's probably short. I imagine it'd be even a minute would probably be a long time.
I don't know. Maybe not that short, but sometimes people go up to their machine and put it in and light a cigarette and, order a drink, that kind of thing. But, probably too, if that happens, even if you are on a machine and you are playing for a while and you forget your card, probably after, no activity, after you've walked away, it shuts down. So,
or if you stop and talking to your buddy for a few minutes and you're just sitting there at the machine, right? Does it shut down?
That's a good question. And we should,
test that out.
We should do some time tests on it, to see, how long
that'd
it
be
takes.
interesting to see.
So anyway, just more evidence that it's probably not really worth it to, get extra players' cards and just go slip them into machines.
Well, you know what? Now that I think about that, what about if you're at the bar, like we sit at the bar and play video poker? Mm-hmm. You're at the bar and there's a game on. We've stopped and watched the game for quite a few minutes and then played another hand.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
I don't know. That's a good question. We should do some tests on our own.
Yeah, just see.
And see what happens. Yeah.
Because, when you're at a bar, there's stuff going on. Someone's talking to you. You're watching a game on the big screen. And you might all of a sudden not play a hand for 2-3 minutes.
Let's test that. And maybe I'll, kind of put the question out there to, some specific casinos or players clubs and see if they'll answer. They may not answer.
Right.
But
they don't want you to know there's a sensor in the chair. It downloads all your personal information.
Yeah. We'll try it. We'll see if they respond. So a little more news. So the mayor of New Orleans just signed into a law a new smoking ban that will go into effect on April 22nd. And this new ban will eliminate smoking in bars, gambling halls, stadiums, and hotels. And my understanding is hotel rooms which
hotel
is
rooms.
pretty hard to believe. That was at least one report I saw. It actually said hotel rooms.
Well, that's weird. Now that's weird because you can have non-smoking rooms and smoking rooms.
Yeah, you'd think so. So I got this from one article, and maybe it's not the specific rooms because I'd be surprised at that too.
Well, how do you enforce that?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You need a smoke, and it's the middle of the night.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, what do you think about, especially bars and gambling halls? What do you think about this?
Well, California, there's no smoking inside bars.
Right.
Right, but you can go outside.
Right.
And stadiums, there's no smoking inside the stadium seating, but you can go out in the hallway and smoke.
Usually they have designated areas. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. That's probably not too bad.
Well, what about casinos, though?
Casinos? Boy, that's going to be hard.
I'll tell you, I mean, neither one of us smokes.
It's part of the culture, though, in casinos.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't like smoke.
No.
I really don't.
I'd love it if we could go to completely non-smoking.
But, I don't see this as being a good law because it's like you said, it's sort of part of the whole milieu of being in a casino, right?
Yeah.
And, it's all kind of vice-oriented, drinking and smoking and gambling, that kind of thing. So,
well, it's funny because out here at Harris Rincon, Southern California, they have one craps table of the 4 that's non-smoking.
Which is so ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous because they're all right next to each other.
Yeah, non-smoking.
There's smoke everywhere.
All it means is the guy next to you is not going to be smoking.
Right, he can't smoke and blow smoke on you. So they bill it as non-smoking. Yeah. It's not really, but it does help a little bit.
Maybe.
So the whole casino, I don't know. It'd be so hard to enforce.
And I think it's a bad idea. Although I will say this. Most poker rooms are non-smoking now. Yeah. And I do like that.
Yes.
I kind of consider poker a different experience than, playing casino
when you're at a poker
games.
table, you're kind of stuck.
Yes, right. You're stuck sometimes doing nothing for, long periods of time, right? And
in a big casino, if some guy came up and smoked next to you on a machine, you'd get up and go to another machine.
Yeah.
Same thing at a blackjack table. If you didn't like that guy blowing smoke at you.
Yeah.
I do like, though, that some of the casinos that do allow smoking do have a rule about cigars.
Mm-hmm.
And no cigars.
Really?
Yeah, Harris Rincon.
There's no cigars?
No
there,
cigars.
Really?
No.
Boy,
they have a couple signs by the cashier and stuff. No cigar smoke.
Oh man, the Vice Lounge Online guys would be furious about that. A third of their show is about cigars.
Yeah, they have a no cigar policy.
Really?
Yeah, and
how are they able to?
I don't know.
Enforce that? And
we saw that once. Don't you remember? There was a kid that came up, and it's Vegas type gambling. Yeah. He started to light up a cigar, and they told him no cigars. They made him put it out.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I do kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just their policy, I guess. Cigarettes are okay, but no cigars.
Okay. Well, I guess they can make their own rules being an Indian casino. I don't know.
Yeah. I usually like to have a nice pipe smoke while I'm at a table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know you do. Well, we'll see I wouldn't be surprised if this maybe backfires or that suddenly there are a bunch of exemptions that are granted, for certain places. But,
well, some casino with a lot of money will probably get an exemption.
Yeah.
Hotels, that's ridiculous.
Again, one article, it said hotel rooms, and I'm thinking, that can't be right, can it?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
It seems strange.
Yeah. So the Stratosphere in Las Vegas has started this new advertising campaign. It's called Take Vegas Back. And the ads start with, what happened to Vegas? And, these spots are basically, some guy or some woman talking about what happened to the good old days of Las Vegas? Now it's all pomp and, things are expensive and everything's artistic and, what happened to the basics of Vegas, right? So, on the surface, it sounds like a pretty good campaign.
Well, sure. Yeah, it sounds good because when do they start putting art museums inside casinos?
Yeah, right. That's the kind of thing, right?
That's crappy.
So I saw one of these ads and just on YouTube, and it was actually filmed inside Stratosphere. And as I'm watching this ad, it's taking place at the blackjack tables, and all the blackjack tables are 6-5 payouts. And so I commented on YouTube, hey, if we want to take Vegas back, how about, going back to 3-2 blackjack? There's a good start. And it got me thinking about, the whole rest of the campaign. What is Stratosphere doing?
Right.
Other than saying, let's take Vegas back, what are they actually doing?
Right. They should make some kind of statement themselves.
And I can't see anything that they're doing. And you and I, before the show, we were talking about things from, Vegas past that we'd like to see come back.
Right.
Like, really cheap prime rib dinners.
Right.
You know, some of the
$1.99 steak and egg breakfast.
You know, on the Strip. We used to be able to go to Stardust. Remember? They had, I think it was called the Palm Room.
Right.
You get a super inexpensive prime rib meal, right? You know, baked potato, the salad, everything.
Sure.
Right?
And it was decent.
It was fine.
They just wanted you to gamble.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So that's number one. Well, number two, why don't they bring back junkets?
Yeah.
We used to be able to, the Four Queens, this was again back in the 90s. And back when there were travel agents, we could go to a travel agency here in town and sign up for a junket. We could actually pick the day, and we'd have to pay up front, like, I don't know, $100, and they'd give us airfare to fly over there.
Right.
And then we had to play 4 hours at the Four Queens at $5 blackjack for 4 hours. And they'd reimburse
your $100.
The airfare. Yeah.
Right. They reimbursed your $100.
And remember, we did that at the Sands once too.
Right. And you know what? I mean, we were doing it from San Diego. So it wasn't a long flight for us. But I'm sure there were people doing it from like Nebraska, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, they were getting a free flight basically to Vegas.
Yeah.
For 4 hours of play. Yeah, bring that back.
Bring that back. So what is Stratosphere doing? As far as I can tell, nothing.
Right. Well, you know, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking the last time I was in Vegas, and you remember my mom and brother and parents were there and everybody, and I remember now I was playing craps at Caesars, and my brother said to me, "Oh, I'm going to take Mom next door to Bellagio to look at the flower garden."
Right.
And yeah, at the time I kind of like, whatever. And I just went back to playing craps. And now I'm thinking to myself as you're talking, what the hell? The flower garden? I mean, yeah, when did casinos get flower gardens?
Well, I'm not really upset about the flower garden.
Yeah, now that the more I think about it, I'm getting pissed off. Seriously, what would Benny Binion think of the flower garden? Yeah, he'll take any bet you want to make on the Super Bowl up to like $5 million, and you can check out the flower garden as a comp. What the hell?
Well, let's hope the Stratosphere lives up to this campaign, but I don't see it happening.
No, I'm sure it's all smoke.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of this 6-to-5 blackjack, I know we talk about it quite a bit, but, you know, Adam at Vegas Fanboy, he even posted on his blog something about how 6-to-5 blackjack isn't going anywhere. Yeah. And it's funny because I was talking to my wife tonight at dinner, and we were talking about pet owners that don't get their, like, cats and dogs spayed or neutered.
Right.
You know,
irresponsible.
if they're not breeders, right? You know, that
they're
kind of
very
thing.
irresponsible.
And their reasoning for not doing it is usually flawed. You know, they think that it's going to affect the animal badly when really a lot of times it has the opposite effect. They're calmer or whatever, you know, that
it makes
kind of
them much better pets.
And so we were talking about what an uphill battle that is to try to educate people on getting their pets spayed or neutered.
Right.
And then I started talking about, you know, the anti-vaccine people, you know, who won't vaccinate their kids, right? And how that's an uphill battle.
Same thing.
It's the same thing with 6-to-5 blackjack.
Right. It's an uphill battle.
It's an uphill battle. We're not going to be able to educate people. Although I don't know that there are a lot of people who are claiming that 6-to-5 blackjack is better than 3-to-2 blackjack.
No, but you know,
like the anti-vaccine people. But
remember when I always used to tell you guys that I know it's wrong, but that's what I believe? It's the same with 6-to-5 blackjack. People know it's wrong, but they're going to play it anyway, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, too. That a lot of people say, oh, single deck, that's the way to go. Well, no. Not if it's 6-to-5. Play multi-deck 3-to-2. Anyway,
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be going to Vegas in a few weeks, probably.
Yep.
I'm going to head over to Bellagio, play some 6-to-5 blackjack in the garden area while some guy gives me a neck massage from behind. Okay? All right. I'll tell you how fun that is.
Please get your wife to record that because I want to see that. I want to see that.
That's the other thing that pisses me off. These guys that come around and give you neck massages at the blackjack table.
That angers you?
Yeah, it angers me. You're sitting there playing 6-to-5 and some guy's going to touch my neck?
You could probably refuse the massage. I don't know.
Oh, he's not a massager. He's just a customer.
That's stupid 6-to-5. Adam was actually suggesting that, you know, those porn slappers that are out there on the street,
right.
You know, just go out there yourself and, you know, no 6-to-5,
no
right?
6-to-5.
Maybe that would help.
Hey, buddy.
Going in, no 6-to-5.
You're trying to push him on some little old lady. Look, it's not porn.
This might not be the last time we complain about 6-to-5 blackjack. Just
no,
FYI.
it might be a regular segment.
Last night on TV, there was an episode of a sitcom called Ground Floor. Are you familiar with this sitcom?
No, I am not.
It's pretty obscure. It's on TBS.
Okay.
But since
I'll look for it.
I'm the TV guy,
Yeah.
And I put out these TV listings as part of our app, right?
Right.
I always know when good gambling TV is coming up, right? So there's this sitcom. It's called Ground Floor. It's a workplace sitcom, just a multi-camera sitcom. And on this particular episode last night, they went to Vegas for a wedding.
Okay.
And one of the characters was walking through the casino yelling at all the patrons saying, that they were suckers, oh, idiot, say goodbye to your money. And he's just walking, through all the slot machines, says,
Right.
And one of his friends is playing craps. It's supposed to be Caesar's Palace, right? But it's obviously a set,
right, right.
But he walks up to the craps table and his buddy is playing.
Uh-huh.
And the guy says, oh, you're just here, playing craps, losing all your money. And the guy says, well, you can bet the don't come.
Because that's a guaranteed win.
Right. So already, I knew that there was going to be craps in this episode, but then
Right.
it's like, oh my gosh, they're actually talking about the don't on a sitcom? So the one guy said, okay, well, I'll bet the don't come. And so he was just betting the don't the whole time. And he was winning and people were losing. And he's, berating all the people. They're mad at him for betting the don't.
Right.
And he's berating them. And oh my gosh.
The ugly don't player.
Yeah, right. And it was so funny because he'd never played before. So he would pick up the dice and to roll them, he'd hold them way over his head and then just, toss
Slam them.
Yeah, just, down on the table, which I'm going to have to try now that I saw this.
Right.
So,
Just pick them up straight over your head and just wing them down there.
that's what I'm going to do from now on. But anyway, it was funny, and I just thought it was amazing. There were some technical aspects on the show that were not correct, right? That's always going to happen.
Is.
Yeah, but I thought it was great that it was actually the don't that they were.
So did he win?
About. He won $260,000.
Are you serious?
He said that he just kept letting it ride
on the don't. Yeah, right. On the don't.
Yes, so it was ridiculous, but anyway, I thought that was pretty good. Actually,
I, on the other hand, watched 2 gambling type shows in the last day.
All right, let's hear it.
And, the first one was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation on BBC America.
Oh, yeah, the old one.
The old one, where they go to some planet and get stuck in a hotel, a gambling hotel.
Yeah, I remember that one, sure.
Right. And the only way they can get out of the hotel, it's some book that somebody wrote.
Some old book about a casino.
About a casino.
Yeah.
So they read the book and, they have to buy the hotel. So they need to make like $6.6 million or something. Uh-huh. And they go to the craps table and Data picks up the dice and he says, oh, these dice are misshapen. They were basically rigged so that people couldn't win somehow. So anyway, he takes the dice, squeezes them in his hand, and makes it so 7 comes up every time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And after like 32 passes, where they've just left all their money on the pass line every time, they've got the 6.6 million. They buy the casino, they get out.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
That's what I want you to do this weekend.
Okay, really?
Practice that instead of dice setting and trying to, come up with betting schemes. Just figure out how to grab the dice and squeeze them, so that somehow they're just off a little 7 always comes up.
Okay, well, that would be great if we didn't live in a state where the dice are translated to cards.
Oh, that's true. You'd have to grab the cards and somehow misshape them.
All right, I'll work on that.
And the other thing I watched was last night an episode of Face Off, which is on Sci-Fi.
It's where they have like makeup.
They do
people.
makeup and they mostly creatures
for
and things.
Movies and stuff.
Movies and stuff. Yeah, it's a super interesting show. As a side, I mean, I love it because they're so talented and the stuff they come up with is unbelievable. But this episode, they had to pick a card. And they had
like from a deck of cards.
From a deck of cards. There were 13 contestants. They took the queens, the kings, the jacks, and the 2 jokers, and they turned them upside down, and they had to pick a card. This all happened at Normandy Casino.
Oh, yeah, okay.
In L.A.
Uh-huh.
So they went to the Normandy Casino, which, by the way, when they were walking in, it looked pretty nice.
Yeah, we haven't been up to the LA casinos in some time.
We were there years ago, and it was pretty beat up and a rat hole. It looked great.
Yeah,
there were chandeliers and everything, real nice. Anyway, the girl, she shuffled the cards and dealt each one a card. Uh-huh. And then they had to make a character based on, like, the king of clubs or whatever they got. And it came out great. So if you somehow can watch that, maybe.
See, now I missed that in my TV listing. I searched for all sorts of things, but if it didn't have.
Yeah, because it probably wouldn't say in the synopsis, it doesn't say any. It just says Heart design car or something. It wouldn't have let you know that it was about a gambling,
Okay. Right.
But it was at Normandy Casino. So check that out. We should go up there again.
I know we should. We should just make a day or a weekend.
Go to Commerce, go to Normandy.
Right, all those places.
Yeah, just check them out. It looked pretty nice.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a long time. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first. YouCanBetOnThat.com and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show. And it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal.
So how did you do at Dave's tournament?
I have nothing really to say. So listeners might remember this last weekend we went to a poker tournament at our friend Dave's house, or I went. You didn't even go.
No, I had to go out to the casino and play craps.
I understand.
I should have gone to the tournament.
But I have nothing to say. That was, I was out fairly early. Not that interesting. Wasn't getting cards. Got lucky once. I really don't have any stories to tell.
Your play was good.
Yeah, I'm happy with the way I played. Just
several people from our home poker game
our home poker game is making the final table very often in that tournament.
and quite a few of them. I mean, 4 or 5 people on the final table.
Yeah, so our friend Mary came in second. Our friend Bill came in third. So, but I don't have anything to say.
So it was just not too interesting.
Not all that interesting.
No.
We were talking about an upcoming Vegas trip. What are your plans, do you think?
Well, right now it looks like maybe early in March, not the first weekend, but maybe the second, or possibly the third, but probably like the second weekend going to March. I just don't think I can make it for the NCAA tournament.
You can't.
No,
it's too hard to get off.
It's too hard to get off a Thursday and a Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get there late Friday, but what's the use?
Yeah.
Then it'd be Saturday, and then we'd probably have to come back Sunday. So I just don't see myself doing that.
That's too bad. Yeah, because if we went, I'd like to be there on Thursday morning when they all start.
To see it all start. And my wife also wants to go to that Guy Savoy restaurant that's in Caesars. They actually have a dining area in the kitchen.
Oh, you told me about that. Yeah. Didn't you guys eat there once? I think on a previous episode you talked about it. Yeah, we ate there. But we didn't eat in the kitchen thing. She wants to go eat in the kitchen. Yeah. It's like a private
private room in the middle of the kitchen, surrounded by glass. You can watch them cook and everything.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. So that's what we're going to try and do, and that might be early in March.
Okay.
So I'll let you know.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, let's jump to our voicemails. Don't forget, call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
951-2-WAGERS.
And let's hear from David.
Hello, gentlemen. This is David in North Carolina. I'm calling you fellas back to report on that information that Dr. Mike had assigned me in y'all's last podcast episode. He had requested that I get him some mileage information and casino specifics might apply to some possible visit he was planning on coming to the Outer Banks here, beautiful state of North Carolina. It turns out it took a little more time, a little more research than I initially planned on. It was interfering with my work, and I wound up losing my job, so I don't have work, and I'm out of work. But the good news is I was able to get the information for you, Dr. Mike. There is, in fact, a Harris Casino in North Carolina. It's up in Cherokee, North Carolina. It's way up in the mountains. It's beautiful up there, but it's about 8 hours away from the Outer Banks. And so, if your in-laws are that hard to get along with and you're dying to get away from them, you'd be better off just drive the 6 hours north up to Baltimore. They got a brand new horseshoe casino up there they built right beside the stadium. I was up there at Christmas time. I believe it's the nicest casino outside of Las Vegas. It's really, really pretty place. I also wanted to offer congratulations before I forget to Mark's wife for getting that Wife of the Year award. We're all just really, really proud of you. Listen, if there's anything else I can do for you fellas, don't hesitate to holler at me. Be glad to help you out any way I can, and I'll just look forward to hearing your guys' next podcast. I look forward to it each week. Of course, you live in a little big town like I do, and there's really not much else going on, to tell you the truth. All right, fellas, keep up the good work. We'll see you.
All right. Thanks, David. Yeah, my wife has been, going around the country.
Yeah, she's on a tour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She talks to other casino widows,
Okay.
About how to, spend your time when your husband's at the casino. And
what to
that kind of
do,
thing. Yeah,
right?
It's great. Yeah, she's going to Vegas. I never see her anymore. She's
on the circuit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I feel bad about David losing his job and everything because that research took so long. So, if there's anything I can do, David, if you need to move out here, we got a spare room. We can put you up, and every Friday night go to the casino with Mark and I.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of life that would be, but
well, see, Mike. Now this is the 21st century. And I was hoping that maybe you had kind of arrived in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Because if you wanted to know if there was a Caesars casino in North Carolina, what you would do is you would go to your computer and you would call up Internet and you would ask Internet, Caesars Casino, North Carolina.
Where's my computer?
And then Internet would say, here you go.
I'm one of those old guys. I don't do that stuff.
Kidding.
I just talk to other people. I'd much rather talk to David about it than look it up. I can have some Siri voice tell me where it is, but I like to talk to David. My wife's good friend, it's a real close friend of hers. She's in Wilmington. And that's why we keep wanting to go out there. And, my wife's been to North Carolina. I've never been. She loves it. She talks about how beautiful it is and how pretty a city Wilmington is. So, yeah, maybe we'll go there. Maybe we'll go to Baltimore.
Yeah, see, that
Get a junket to Baltimore and then drive down to Wilmington or something and visit her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the little casino in the mountains sounds good, but then we'd probably trap there.
Yeah, right. Here, one more quick call.
Hey, guys. My name is Basil. I listen to your podcast regularly, and I love it. This is in reference to your North Carolina casinos question. There is a Harrod Cherokee in Cherokee, North Carolina, but if you are in the East Coast, it'll be just as close to go to Baltimore, Maryland, where there are new casinos opening up. I hope that helps, and thank you guys, and have a great day.
Okay, so we actually got, several responses from different listeners, basically saying the same thing, that it's like an 8-hour drive to go to Cherokee, and it's a 6-hour drive to go to Baltimore. So if you're on the Outer Banks, you're really not close to anything.
Probably go to Baltimore then.
But even if you went to Baltimore, that's like driving from here to Las Vegas, 6 hours.
It's more. It's more than
that's
here
right.
to Las Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, so there's, if you're going to the Outer Banks, there's probably nothing terribly convenient.
Maybe we'll just go visit Wilmington.
That'll be it.
And that'll be it. We won't gamble.
Yeah.
Getting back to your wife and being wife of the year, we should have people call. For advice, start an advice hotline.
Oh.
It'll be another part of You Can Bet on That. Advice hotline where the women or husbands.
Yeah, don't be sexist here.
No. It could be husbands or significant others, whatever, partners, whatever you prefer, calls and says, hey, my blah, blah, blah is, gambling a lot. What do I do in the meantime?
Right.
And then Sherry gives them advice.
That would be,
she'd be like the Ann Landers of gambling wives.
That'd be good. So the first advice would be, all right, take over all the finances of the house.
Right.
That'd
Immediately take over the finances.
All right. Thanks for those calls. We got an email from listener Jordan, and he had an experience that happened at the craps table, and the story I thought was so compelling that I thought we'd actually talk about it a little bit here on the show. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase his email. We're going to talk about what happened to him and then kind of comment as we go along. So he and his buddies were playing at Wynn. It says about 1 a.m. in the morning, and they were at a $10 table. And they were thinking about leaving when a gentleman came up and bought in for $40,000.
Okay.
Jordan, I asked Jordan, and Jordan couldn't remember if he actually had the cash to cash in or he used a marker. I'm sure it was a marker. He would have remembered somebody cashing in for
it would have taken a while,
for them to count it all. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, he cashed in for $40,000. So Jordan and his friends were thinking, hey, maybe we'll, sit and watch and see how this guy plays.
Right.
And so initially, I'm thinking too, when I'm reading this story, it's like, okay, good. Here's a high roller, pretty significant high roller, who, isn't insisting on playing at a real high limit table. Let's just go to the $10 table, play with, the
he's out there with the people.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, okay, good, good for him. So he bought in, and when he started betting, he had $500 on the line with full odds. and then he went about $10,000 across. So about placing each number for about $2,000, probably like $2,100 on the sixth name, $2,000 on everything else.
So he'd have $500 on the line. If the point was 6, he'd have a $2,500. So he's got like $3,000 there. And he's got about 10. He's got about $13,000 on the table.
Right. So, a significant chunk of what he's bought in for,
well,
right?
a huge chunk. 13 out of 40?
Yeah, exactly. So you figure the guy...
With 3 rolls, you're done.
Yeah, right.
3 immediate outs.
And, I'm sure he's played this way before. So you figure the guy's probably got
This is an aggressive gambler.
Yeah, aggressive gambler, and he's got more money to play with if he wants to. So Jordan and his friends were watching him play and, kind of enjoying themselves. It would be pretty fun to see that much out on the table.
No, we've done that. I mean, I've liked to watch people like that.
And so apparently he had a pretty good roll, or a decent roll. He wasn't rolling at the time, but, the roll that he got on, he made a little money.
Okay, good.
And then it was his turn to roll. And this is when things started to go south. So it's this high roller's turn to roll, and he starts fiddling with the dice. And Jordan said that he took 30 seconds. Once the dice were passed to him, he took 30 seconds to fiddle with the dice and finally shoot them.
Which is like an eternity. And
we've all heard, he fiddled with it for about 30 seconds and it's like an exaggeration. Well, Jordan actually sent us a video of this guy rolling and we saw it. It was 30 seconds. And you hear 30 seconds, but, stop the podcast for a minute and just count to 30. And you'll realize how long that is to be fiddling with the dice and doing something. Yeah, this is
30 seconds once he got the dice in front of him.
Right, exactly.
It's not like, they're sitting in the middle. This is like they're there and everyone's watching you and you've got 30 seconds before you throw them.
So, nobody's saying anything. The pit's not, this guy's a high roller. What are you going to do? You don't want to anger him, right? So nobody's saying anything, that they're letting him do it, right?
Right.
And eventually sevens out. He rolls like 6 or 7 times and then sevens out. So a very average kind of roll, right? And I wonder what goes through his mind, when all these histrionics and then, he just has kind of a...
Well, I always wonder that every time. I always wonder when they roll point out and then they go through all this stuff. I was like, well, are you going to do that next time you roll too? Because it didn't work so well.
So now suddenly this guy is not so great. This guy's like a jerk, right? It's like he's so much more important than anybody else. He's not concerned about the game moving fast or whatever. Right. He, suddenly my view of him at least has gone, 180.
Sure.
So he sevens out and then this woman gets the dice and she's rolling, pretty hard. And in the middle of the roll, one of the dice hits the stick man's hand.
Right. So she was obviously throwing it pretty wild.
Yeah, right.
Because they usually hold their hands up. And
okay, so it hits the stick man's hand. Before the dice have actually settled, the stick man says, ouch, no roll.
Okay, he's saying this before the dice have even come to a stop.
Correct. And I don't know of any casino where the rule is that if the dice hit the dealer's hand, which we've seen many times.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of a rule where it's no roll if it hits the dealer's hand.
No, they can hit the dealer's hand. They can hit other players' hands. Yeah. They can hit the stack of chips as long as they bounce off.
Yeah, and as long
they can hit the bowl, and if they come out, it's a roll.
Now, it's the one exception would be if like it hits somebody's hand and the person kind of shoved the dice or did something, active to try to
get them back on the table.
Yeah, or something like that. Then that'd be no roll.
Most people may not know that if you play craps enough, you'll learn that if the dice go off the table and they inadvertently hit you and come back on without you making a motion to push them back on, it's a roll.
Correct.
If you purposely knock them back on the table,
push your hand out or something,
or your chest so they stay on the table, then it's a no roll.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of a judgment call, but certainly hitting the dealer's hand is not a no roll. Okay, so the dealer calls out no roll.
Right.
The dice finally settle on the table, and it's a 7 out.
Okay.
And so
at this point, everyone on the table's pretty pissed.
Right.
Because they've heard no roll, and then they see a 7. So they're kind of relieved until they say it's a roll.
Yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. We've seen plenty of times where a dealer will call no roll, not because it's hit their hand, but it looks like it's going off the table.
Right.
Like it's kind of spinning and it looks like it's going out. They say no roll, but then it comes back and lands on the table.
Right. It's a premature
no roll. Exactly.
Right.
Now, at least my experience has been in each case, it's a roll.
Yeah.
Even if the dealer said no roll.
It's almost always a roll if they land on the table.
Right. So first of all, what is this dealer thinking saying no roll just because it hit his hand? Was he trying to be funny? Well, people aren't going to find that funny, right?
More than likely, he's just a big puss, and he's complaining about his hand getting hit.
So anyway, the dealers start to collect all of the chips because it's a 7 out. Well, the high roller, starts complaining. Hey, wait a second.
Right.
The dealer said no roll.
Right.
Okay.
I could see initially complaining.
Oh, of course.
Right.
I mean, if at the very least to prevent the dealer from saying something like that in the future,
well,
right?
Or letting him know that, hey, you made a faux pas.
Yeah.
Let's correct this next time.
Yeah. But anyway, you definitely say something.
Right.
And so the high roller did. He said, hey, the dealer said no roll, it should be no roll. Even though, like I said, we've never seen them, actually say no roll if the dice. And plus, you and I were kind of talking about a similar example. What if 6 were rolled on the dice?
Sure.
And the dealer called 7? Well, his call would not stand. Obviously,
no. You see that all the time. Yeah. And sometimes it's not 7. They say 6, and then the guy says, no, it's a 5.
Right.
Because they see 4-1, but they call 5-1.
Yeah. So
and then one of the other dealers will correct it, or a player, and that's okay.
So the dice speak for themselves, right? Basically. So anyway, there, the high roller is complaining, and there's some discussion going on. So eventually they call the pit over. So she comes over and kind of listens to what has happened. And she eventually says, okay, the roll counts. It's 7 out.
Yeah.
And the high roller was furious. And he at this point, Jordan said he had about 53,000 in front of him. So he's
made money.
He's made money. He picked up his chips and he walked away.
Right.
And Jordan's question ultimately was, do you think that this pit boss blew it by making this decision? And that's a good question because there's a lot of things to consider.
Right.
First of all, is there some kind of rule at Wynn about a situation like this? A dealer saying no roll, but it really was a roll.
Right. And I'm sure that's come across before, and they probably do have a rule.
It could be.
So, I mean, she might have just been saying, no, this is it. And her reason, whether she stated it or not, may have just been, that's our rules.
Yeah, and it could be.
Right.
Now, the other thing is, okay, do you let a high roller like that walk away from the table, take his money away by ruling like that? Doesn't that make it a bad rule?
Well, I got
bad ruling.
Thing I want to say about that is, would he have walked away anyway? Because he's up 53,000. He's up 13,000.
Yeah.
He's got 53,000. Well, maybe that was his excuse to walk away a winner.
Oh, maybe.
Right?
But Jordan said he was pretty furious.
I'm sure he was mad, but he could have been like, well, I'm up, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Would he have done the same if he was dead even or if he was down?
Yeah.
Or would he have just been mad and said, okay, I'm going to take these guys for more?
Yeah, that's a good point.
He might have been going to walk away no matter what she said.
Yeah. Plus, if she does rule, okay, the roll won't count. Well, what if a high roller hadn't been at the table, right? Then it's a double standard. Right. At the same time, hey, double standards are what Vegas is all about when it comes to high rollers, right? I mean, they get special treatment.
Well, and the other, just to play the other side of the coin would be, she appeases him and says, okay, no roll. And then the next roll is a 7 out anyway.
Yeah.
Here's
a dilemma for the casino too. What if that roll had been the point?
Right.
Okay. Now, of course, they want that one to, be a good roll, right? So it's almost like when the dealer has said no roll, it's almost like a free roll for the player if the casino will rule no roll if it's a 7,
right?
But rules that it is a roll if it's the point, right? It's almost, and you can't really give players free rolls, or can you?
Yeah.
If you give them a free roll, don't you get more money from them in the future?
Right. Well, the thing about this is we don't know a lot of the details.
Yeah.
Because this guy, he might have had a marker, which I'm sure he did.
Yes.
But he might not be a regular. He might have been a guy who walked in the casino. They don't even have a record of him, a history of him. He put down, a couple 100,000 and he's going to gamble.
Yeah.
So they may think, well, what the hell? He leaves. He may never come back here again anyway. Or he could be a regular.
I'm guessing he might be a regular. Yeah. That's my guess.
If he's a regular, I probably wouldn't want to piss him off too much.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe he does this regularly. Maybe he gets mad about things.
That was the other thing too. Maybe, right. Maybe she knew him.
Maybe she knew that, he's been pissed off about stuff all the time and he comes back no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? He's a gambler.
Yeah. But anyway, so, I thought it was an interesting story. It was interesting because Jordan was really just asking about what we thought of the pit boss decision. But really, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that dealer, what is he thinking saying no roll?
Right. Yeah.
Why would he say
Well, it'd
that?
all be avoided if the dealer just keeps his mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You get hit in the hand a lot.
Yep.
That
it does
happens
happen.
a lot.
Yep.
And so, dealers, especially not so much the stick man, but the guys dealing will be making a bet and somebody will roll, and then before they can get their hand back, they get hit. Or I've seen it where their hands are actually outside the table, holding like the rail, and the guy throws them wild and nails them in the knuckle. I've done that. I've hit people like that.
Sure.
So.
It can happen. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the email, Jordan. It certainly got us thinking quite a bit about, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, and, of different opinions about.
Next time, this weekend when we go, you can, the first time you roll, hold your hand above your head.
Right,
and
like
roll
on
like
the show.
that. And the second time, just mimic this guy. Because we saw the video. Just mimic that and see how long it takes for somebody to get so pissed off they make a comment.
It really is comical what this guy's doing. He's rubbing his hand on the table and moving the dice around. He's concentrating so hard.
He left the dice kind of alone and would rub his hand and kind of just barely touched it. But when he went to actually roll him, he picked him up and just threw him.
Yeah, I know.
It just boom. He just threw him.
What is he? What sort of, psychic?
Like all the pre-stuff before he threw him had some magical influence on the dice.
Gosh. Hey, we're going to talk about Spanish 21 in this episode. I can't believe we've never talked about or actually in depth talked about Spanish 21 because it's your dad's favorite game.
It's my dad's favorite game, and he wished more casinos would have it. They've kind of done away with it.
Yeah,
it's hard to find.
He can't play it up at Harris where we always go.
No, and in Vegas, a lot of places. I mean, the last place I knew that had it was like Wynn, I think. Yeah. There was some tables at Wynn.
The nice thing about it, it's a blackjack-based game, of course, and one of the nice things about it is if you play a basic strategy for the game, which is different from regular basic strategy, we'll talk about this, the house edge is actually lower than regular blackjack if you're playing it right and some of the rules are good for you. Anyway, let's talk about it. First of all, so it's a blackjack game. Usually they use 6 or 8 decks dealt from a shoe.
Yeah, almost always a shoe.
And all the 10s have been removed from the deck. Not the face cards, but the actual 10s have been removed from the deck.
There's 4 cards, so it's a 48 card deck.
Yeah, so each deck is 48 cards, right? Exactly. So with these 10s removed from the deck, that's actually advantageous for the house. So how do they make that up and give the player more options? This is what makes the game kind of fun and attractive to players, is that there are some rules now in the player's favor that kind of makes it a little more interesting. Right. All right, so let's talk about this. A blackjack, a natural 21, 2-card 21. It always wins, even if the dealer has a blackjack.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, and it gets paid 3-2.
Oh, no 6-5.
No 6-5, that's right.
Why you can't find the table.
That's right. Here's one bad thing. Insurance pays 2-1, just like regular blackjack. But think about it. All the 10s have been removed from the deck, right? So this is an even worse bet than, regular insurance. So certainly in this game, never take insurance.
Well, a good player's not taking insurance anyway, so.
That's right. Otherwise, it plays like blackjack. You can always double after splitting. Most places allow you to hit even after you split aces.
Which is a nice thing, too.
Yeah. They have late surrender. So that is if you want to surrender, if the dealer doesn't have blackjack.
And you already had 3 cards. You've already taken a card you can surrender?
I believe you can surrender at any time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's nice.
Yes. Even if you've taken a hit. But certainly, if you've got like a 16 against a 10, something like that, yes. You can even surrender after doubling. So if you have like a terrible situation, like let's say you have an 11 against a dealer's 10,
and you get
you double, and you get like a 5.
Oh,
so
yeah,
now
right.
Anything actually. It doesn't matter since you can't take another card.
Right.
You can surrender. You only lose your initial bet. You don't.
Wow,
lose
that's not
the doubling.
bad because it's how many times have you doubled and you get the 2?
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, great. Now I've got 13.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that'd be great just to lose your initial bet.
Yep. You can double down on any number of cards. So if you get 3 cards, you can double down. Say, let's say you start with like a 2 and a 3, right? And then you get a 6. So now you've got 11. You can double down at that point.
That's great.
There are even casinos that will allow you to redouble. So let's say you start with a 9. Say you've got like a 9 against the dealer's 6. I think that's a double situation. You can double, and then if you draw like a 2, now you've got a total of 11. You can double again.
Wow. So you got
4 times as much.
out there.
Another good rule for the player: a players 21 always wins, even if the dealer hits up to 21.
Right. So no pushes on 21.
Yeah, if you hit up to 21, then you're going to win.
Wow. So this is why they took this game away.
And, you might initially think, oh, what if the dealer has blackjack? Well, if the dealer has blackjack, you didn't have a chance to hit up to 21. So.
Right.
Right. And then there's some special bonus payouts. If you get a 5-card 21, it'll pay 3-2. If you get a 6-card 21, it pays 2-1. And 7 cards or more totaling 21, it gets paid 3-1. There are also some other 21 payouts. If you have 6-7-8 suited or 7-7-7 suited, it pays 2-1. And if that suit happens to be spades, you get paid 3-1. And these are just bonuses. You don't have to do anything else.
You don't have to make an additional bet.
There's no additional bet for these.
It's just if you're lucky enough to get that, you get paid more.
Yep. And then here's the super bonus. Again, you don't have to make a separate bet for this. If you get 3 suited 7s and the dealer has any 7, you get $1,000 if your initial bet is under $25. If your initial bet is over 25 or over, you get $5,000. And all the other players at the table get a $50 envy bonus for no additional bet. This is just part of the game.
That's great if it's no additional bet.
Yep. That's what makes the game so attractive. Some additional rules there, and then they get you by taking the 10s out. But if you follow basic strategy, of course, I'll link to it over at Wizard of Odds. This can actually have a lower house edge than just playing traditional blackjack. Yeah. There is a side bet that you can make too called Match the Dealer. A side bet where if one of your first 2 cards is the same rank as the dealer's up card, you get paid a certain amount. A certain amount if it's like a different suit, a little bit more if it's the same suit.
That is the bet my dad likes the game for.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves that, what does he call, he doesn't call it match. He calls it like pair or something. He has some little nickname for it.
Okay.
Where he wants to get the same card as the dealer.
Yeah. So
that's what he gets a kick out of.
And that's the bet he should be avoiding, of course, because it's that side bet with the house edge. But anyway, that's Spanish 21 in a nutshell. And yeah, we don't have it at Harris where we usually go.
I haven't seen it around here in years. Yeah. They used to have it.
Yeah. I think they might have it out in Viejas. But anyway.
Do they still? Really?
They might. But, yeah, I mean, it's a fun game and I would recommend it again if you're willing to learn a different basic strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think the basic strategy is way different from.
A lot of the hands that you get most of the time, it's not going to be different.
Right. There's just a few exceptions.
Because the 10s are gone, it does skew a little bit.
Right.
So,
there are a few exceptions, but most of them are the same.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to download our app for your mobile device. You'll get access to all our episodes, quick links to contact us via Twitter, Facebook, email, and our voicemail hotline, and you'll get bonus audio. On the bonus audio for this episode, we talk about our trip to Elko, Nevada. With our app, you'll also get TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. The bonus audio and the TV listings are only available on our app. To download it, go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and on the left-hand side of the page, click on the link that says how to download our app. We have a link for Android devices and another one for iPhones and iPads. We would love to hear from you. We love getting feedback. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. And like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And head over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. Mike?
Well, I was just thinking to myself, what if that gambler we were talking about, the $40,000 buy-in guy, what if he listens to this podcast by chance, right? And then he realizes that what he should have really been doing instead of getting pissed off is watching Ground Floor episode and playing the Don't.
Yeah.
Right. Think how much money he could have won.
Oh, it would have been tremendous.
Yeah, and then he would have loved when the 7 came up, right?
That's right.
Would have been a whole different attitude. Yay, 7! Yeah, he should be watching that Ground Floor episode.
Well, it was actually the first part of a 2-parter. And so I think on next week's episode, you see how they spend the $260,000.
Oh, good,
I don't know if there's any more
good.
craps played.
I know what they do. I've been kind of privy to that information.
Oh, okay. Tell us more.
They go to Stratosphere and they take Vegas back.
Nice.
That's what they're doing.
For $260,000?
$260,000. They take Vegas back.
How do they do that? Playing crapless craps?
Well, you got to watch. It's
Oh,
at
yeah.
the Stratosphere. Yeah, crapless craps. They turn it into $26 million and they buy a whole floor at Stratosphere. They buy that roller coaster on the roof.
All right.
It doesn't turn out well for them.
It's 10 o'clock on TBS Tuesday night next week. Thanks for listening.
Good night.